So we got to start by saying rest in peace to Diego Armando Maradona. It was a really weird day yesterday, wasn't it? I don't think that there's a single person that watches this channel that needs to be filled in on the legend that is Maradona. He's arguably the most talented player to ever kick a football. He took a team that wasn't supposed to win the Serie A in Napoli and made them do exactly that. He took a team in Argentina in 1986 that wasn't supposed to win the World Cup and almost single-handedly dragged them through that tournament to the point where they won it. And his passing is very sad. It's anyone who has looked into the life of Diego Maradona knows that this was a man that was in pain. Did he have flaws? Sure, who doesn't? But he brought so much joy and passion to the world. And to lose a character like that, it's a massive loss for the football community. So, rest in peace, Diego Maradona. But let's talk football, because that's what we all love. That's what he would have loved. And there was another week of Champions League football, another week of Erling Haaland scoring. I'm Adrian, by the way. Welcome back, and I hope you're doing well. Guys, do let me know what you think of this faster run through of this video. It will allow me to spend more time on certain key events or matches, as opposed to completely bloating the video by mentioning every single kick of the ball from the previous match day. We're testing things. Now watch, it'll end up being the same amount of time as the last one. Also, our latest episode of Roots of the Rivalry takes a look at Africa's hottest derby between Egyptian sides Al Ahly and Zamalek, a nice synthesis of history in British-occupied Egypt and football and the role it plays in the country's history, and an explanation as to why these two teams dislike each other so much. I even got Ahmad Youssef from kingfut.com to come onto the channel to help me out. Lokomotiv has done the double over Atletico Madrid, and by that of course I mean the double draw, and have thus given themselves a very good chance of qualifying still, with a little help from Bayern, perhaps. Lokomotiv still has a chance to slip through. 0-0 at the Wanda Metropolitano. Great performance again from the Lokomotiv back line, just as they were in the first meeting of these two teams. Bayern, Salzburg. Last time we saw Bayern stomp Salzburg 6-2 and the scoreline seemed a little harsh. And perhaps you could say that again in this match, as Manuel Neuer, just as he was at the weekend, had to be at his best in order to secure the dub for Bayern. For club and country, Kingsley Coman has now scored in 3 consecutive matches, while Robert Lewandowski and Sané scored the others for Bayern. Sané is also seemingly finding himself for the club. 4 in his last 4 matches, despite coming on as a sub in each of those matches, only playing the last 25 to 30 minutes each time. But honestly, man, I feel very bad for Salzburg. On another day against another keeper, they could have had 4 or 5 goals, but Neuer is just insane. A lot of credit needs to go to Jesse Marsch and that Salzburg team. And with that win, Bayern have already qualified for the round of 16 with 2 matches to go. Atletico sit in second currently, but they are just 2 points ahead of Lokomotiv. Hey man, even Salzburg isn't eliminated yet. Some better luck against Lokomotiv and Atletico, and who knows, they could make it. Borussia Mönchengladbach have topped the table of Group A after their victory over Shakhtar. Again, after having their way with them during match day 3, they spanked them this week. Marco Rose, man, I'm telling you, anyone who watched the weekend recap last season and this season will have been sick of hearing me praise this man, but look at what he's doing. Now, if he could just sort out their Bundesliga form, oof. This week, Mönchengladbach won 4-0. Man, they're slipping, aren't they? Couldn't even score 6 goals again? God. Big up Real Mbolo for a stunner. Definitely worth checking that goal out. Not here though. Copyright will just... they'll have their way with me, like Borussia Mönchengladbach did to Shakhtar. In the later match, Real Madrid went away to Inter and got a 2-0 win, and you would have hoped that Inter would be able to take care of the depleted Madrid side that was without their 3 kings, Casemiro, at least from the start, Sergio Ramos, and Karim Benzema. But this was the same old same from Inter, man. They continue to struggle to generate anything going forward, and generally just look like a team that is aimless. With Lukaku and Lautaro up front, they somehow managed to have both of their forwards get isolated and rendered completely ineffectual. And if you haven't been tuning in over the course of the season, Inter often feel like if Lukaku doesn't do anything, no man. It's Groundhog Day every time with Inter. I don't know what else to say anymore. I think that is sort of where a lot of Inter fans are at the moment. I know my man Uncle Sharma was looking just deflated after the loss, because what else can you say? Conte's Inter starts slow once again. They had the added bonus of giving away a penalty early. Great. They had the added idiocy of Arturo Vidal getting himself sent off for rocking that haircut in 2020. You can't be doing that. I mean, arguing with the referee, my bad. It was poor, and Conte certainly has to take some blame for it. They're slouching domestically, and they're currently bottom of the table with just 2 points. Yes, they're lower than Shakhtar at the moment. And so it begs the question, at what point does either Conte walk away or Inter give him the sack? I don't think anything happens just yet. Why? Because they aren't eliminated just yet. They could still technically finish above Real Madrid or Borussia Mönchengladbach, but they will have to score plenty of goals along the way and win both matches against Gladbach and Shakhtar. But I don't know. I don't trust this Inter team to do so. Yes, Conte had a great turnaround with Chelsea around October, November, when in the season that they ended up winning the league and playing stunning football. But now, in year 2 at Inter, with his insistence on pressing forward with a 3 at the back when it isn't working all the time, I don't know. I don't think that there's a talent problem at the team. I don't think that Conte is finished as a manager, but I think that Inter need a miracle to win anything other than maybe the Coppa Italia. Keep him for now, yes. But with Allegri and Sarri and Pochettino all available, as we discussed during the live stream yesterday, there's a big decision to be made for Inter. Or at least there will be, should Inter not make it out of this group. I'm not sure that third is even enough given the teams they share the group with. I don't know if that's enough for him to keep his job. And if they continue to struggle in Italy, of course. Manchester City took on Olympiacos and they were not bad. I mean, you saw them do well in the chance generation department, which is good, as they weren't just, passing around the box, struggling to generate or anything like that. But their finishing wasn't up to snuff. Again, a similar issue they faced all season long. That said, their defense was lights out. They didn't allow a single shot on target. In fact, Olympiacos only had 1 or 2 attempts towards goal. The closest one, the only one I can think of really, was a strike that was always curling away from Ederson in the goal. Nothing to be worried about, really. The biggest highlight, Phil Foden. You guys know I really rate this guy, and to see him excel like this for City lately as he has played on the left, to see what he did in flashes for England during the international break, he really is exciting, and he's definitely one of the most exciting youngsters, if not just in England, but in Europe in general. I genuinely rate him that well, and he got a goal today to boot. 1-0 City, easy. In the other match, Porto went away to Marseille to try to shovel on more misery for their former manager André Villas-Boas, and they did exactly that. A 2-0 win for Sergio Conceição's Porto, and Marseille are officially eliminated from the Champions League. Just like that. It's all unraveling at Marseille, isn't it? Yes, they missed some big chances, but Porto missed just as many and scored twice to boot. Some issues at Marseille. Injuries, COVID, but things aren't going right behind the scenes either with AVB and that board. And so, with that win, City are through already, while Porto are just behind them in second. They just need a draw against City and they will be through to the round of 16. Midtjylland are still in search of their first win in the Champions League as they went to Amsterdam to take on Ajax and came away with the same result as last time, a loss. But, I mean, it wasn't their best performance that we've seen from Midtjylland. They have indeed been better in this competition, and they were lucky that Traoré didn't punish them twice in the span of a minute in the first half. But the defenses fell from Midtjylland in the second half, and a 20-minute period saw Ajax score 3 times. Deserved win. Midtjylland pulled 1 back from the spot. 3 won the final though. Now, 2 weeks ago, Liverpool destroyed Atalanta in Bergamo, 5-0, and given Atalanta's recent form both domestically and in Europe, you would have been excused in thinking that a similar outcome would greet us from Anfield. But after Adrian from Rabona TV pleaded with Atalanta to sort their form out during the weekend recap because we all miss their entertaining brand of football, Don Gasparini granted him his wish, and Atalanta looked a completely different side. Now, of course, this is a Liverpool team that had Reece Williams and Joel Matip as their center backs, not exactly their first choice pairing. They also had Tsimikas at left back and Nico Williams at the right, so not their strongest back line. Atalanta bossed the first half. Papu Gomez was everywhere, causing havoc, while Atalanta's back line was thankful they wouldn't have to deal with Diogo Jota, at least from the start. Plus, Liverpool's midfield, just not their strongest midfield, you know? By the way, credit to Atalanta's backline, their own backline, as they didn't allow a single shot on target at Anfield. That's pretty big. Josip Ilicic scored in the 60th and Gosens in the 64th, a strong performance from Atalanta. Now, can they continue this form? They're yet to play Midtjylland and Ajax, of course, and the match against the latter could decide who goes through, as Liverpool are on 9 points, Atalanta and Ajax on 7 each. What a competitive group. Group E is settled already. It was settled right at the death for Chelsea as they went away to Stade Rennais and got a 2-1 victory thanks to the outcast. Outcast once again, Olivier Giroud. Last season he factored into Lampard's plans more in the latter half of the season, which could yet happen, though Giroud seems desperate to find pastures anew. Perhaps Lampard sees that he still has a ton of value and can be clinical at times, just as he was last season. Not a word I would have used for him all the time, by the way, at Arsenal, clinical. But he certainly can be at times, with Chelsea especially. I don't know, man. I have this soft spot for Giroud now. As he got older, I liked him more and more. But yeah, Chelsea won 2-1. They dominated early, with Mount playing Hudson-Odoi through in the 22nd to give the visitors the lead, but Chelsea really took their foot off the gas after that and allowed Stade Rennais to come back into this one. Some close calls, big misses, and decent Edouard Mendy saves later, and Rennes' Serhou Guirassy found an equalizer, only for Giroud to score a decent header to, put him in the dirt. Sevilla also secured their place in the round of 16 with a 2-1 win, also away to Krasnodar. They really left it late, however, as their progression in the tournament came thanks to a 95th minute winner from Munir. That's 2 goals in 2 matches for him now, and what was probably one of the best performances I've seen from him, at least in a long time. So, as mentioned, Chelsea and Sevilla are through on 10 points each. Krasnodar and Rennes still searching for their first victories. Lazio, everything is back to normal again, now that their talisman Chiro is back, and his strike partner in Joaquin Correa, he's really finding some form, isn't he? It was one of my requests at the beginning of the season, and it seems like it's happening. Immobile scored just 3 minutes into this match against Zenit with his deflected shot looping over the Zenit keeper. It was a sick goal though. Slight deflection or not, it was a wonderful hit. Correa later set up Parolo to make it 2-0, and despite an Artem Zyuba goal just a few minutes later, 3-1 Lazio. Borussia Dortmund versus Club Brugge. The Erling Haaland show does not stop producing magic. This kid is so assured in his finishing. He's fast, he's tall, he can pass and combine with his teammates. He's not just a poacher, but damn it if he isn't incredible at popping up at the right spots to score, and he'll tell you himself he needs to work on his aerial game. Jadon Sancho latched onto a loose ball in the midfield, then played Haaland through, and despite the most acute of angles, he managed to fit the ball around Simon Mignolet and in off of the near post. Superb finish. Then later on, Sancho got a goal himself with a perfectly struck free kick into the top corner. Stunning. And finally, Haaland added a third in the second half as a mishit pass from a Club Brugge player went straight to Haaland, who was in an offside position in the box, but given that it was played deliberately by the defender, it negates the offside. But he still had a lot to do. I mean, his first time finish with his back to goal to swivel and rifle that into the bottom corner, pure striker's finish. The boy lashed it. 16 goals in 13 games this season. He also became the fastest player to score 15 in the Champions League in just 12 games. No surprises there. Dortmund and Lazio remain the leaders on 9 and 8 points respectively. Neither of them have secured a place just yet. FC Barcelona got a big win over Dynamo Kiev, though after 45 minutes you wouldn't have expected this margin of victory. 4-0 in Ukraine, but this really was the kind of performance you would have hoped for from Barcelona, a side that left Messi at home in Spain. Martin Braithwaite started up front with Trincao, Pedri, and Coutinho behind him, and the man scored a brace and overall looked really good. He even assisted the Serginho Dest opener as well. What a performance from the much memed Dane. Also a goal for Griezmann. Great outing for Barcelona, the kind of match you'd expect them to boss in the past, but it hasn't really been a guarantee in 2020. Juventus had an extremely difficult time against their Hungarian opponents, Ferencvárosi, at home. It was the Hungarian side that went ahead, the Hungarian visitors, after 19 minutes, as a deflected ball across the box was poked past Szczesny by Uzuni. Not a great first half, but in the 35th, Ronaldo scored a fantastic goal. The man cannot stop scoring, can he? What is age? It wasn't Paulo Dybala's worst game, but he didn't make a big impact in this one, again. And Morata came on the pitch. Juve looked much better with him on the pitch. He's just a different player at Juve, isn't he? And he complements Ronaldo's play quite nicely, even scoring some goals of his own, just as he did right at the death of this one to give Juve the 2-1 win. Not entirely convincing, but not bad. Massive shout out to Juan Cuadrado, by the way, who you could make a case for being Juve's best player this season. Those wins ensure that both Juve and Barcelona are through already with 2 matches to spare. Not a bad first campaign for Andrea Pirlo, even with that loss to Barcelona. And finally, we have Group H, where Leipzig and PSG faced off, and it wasn't the greatest match, was it? PSG haven't really been at it recently. They haven't been overly convincing thus far. I mean, this past weekend, they lost 3-2 against AS Monaco, which, you know, in isolation, isn't the worst thing in the world. It isn't a coach sacking offense or anything like that. But then factoring in that they had a 2-0 lead after 32 minutes, and they went on to squander that, not a good look at all. But hey, nice to see Niko Kovac smiling, am I right? But up against Leipzig, PSG did get the win at home thanks to a penalty that was one of the weakest you'll see. Di Maria makes for a good fisherman. He was fishing for penalties. Neymar converted it, PSG hang on for the victory. Manchester United face Istanbul Başakşehir at Old Trafford with the desire for things to not go as they did last time, aka losing in Turkey. And man, after that first half, you really would have been convinced that Manchester United were a completely different team than that of the last team that played against Istanbul Başakşehir, as Bruno Fernandes scored a delicious screamer from the edge of the box that nearly ripped the goal off of its moorings. He later added a second, not as impressive as the first, but a second goal, and had an opportunity to score a third from the penalty spot, but Bruno is a man of his word and allowed Rashford to take it. Why? Well, speaking after the match, Bruno mentioned how on the weekend he had promised Rashford that he could take the next penalty, so on his hat-trick or not, he honored his word, and Rashford scored what was his 5th of the competition, 1 behind Haaland, and level on goals with Morata. United really sat back in the second half, conceded, but still won 3-1. So this group is still up for grabs, and you feel like anything could happen at this point. It's a toss-up between PSG and Leipzig for me, but with United's knack for, being inconsistent, you just never know, do you? United play PSG at home before going away to Leipzig, and that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. The next time I'll see you will be the weekend recap. My name's Adrian. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me, and I'll catch you later. Take care of yourself, please.